Welcome everybody to our next clip, which I'm going to provide to you today. So for those that don't know me, I'm Katherine Overwater, the Policy and Planning Manager here at KDC. Today I'm going to talk you through the proposed zoning, which I think is a really exciting thing for Kaipara. Hopefully you can see my screen. I've got a slide there. So there are several changes proposed for the Kaipara district in this new proposed district plan. In the previous clips, I've talked about the introduction of the Mangawhai Hakaru Managed Growth Area. So I won't talk too much to that at this point. You'll know also that we're proposing one single general residential zone. So that was a consolidation of three previously proposed residential zones. And we also have one general rural zone now, as opposed to two. We had the general rural and the rural production zone earmarked in our draft plan, which was released in 2022. The most exciting zone that I'll talk you through today is the rural lifestyle zone, which is going to change the look and feel of Kaipara. There is quite a bit proposed throughout the district, if you have a look at the district planning maps. But also we have the heavy and light industrial zones as well. So there's a bit of that scattered in the district, mainly at Mangatoroto, Kaiwaka, Dargaville, and Hakaru as well. So check those areas out. I'm going to step you through what we can do within these zones. But just so you know as well, we did have a settlement zone that was proposed in the draft, which has been removed. And we've got the addition of 3 new open space zones. So the natural open space, the open space zone, and the sports and active recreation zone. We also have included the 4 recently approved private plan change areas. So you'll see them marked as special purpose zones and precincts on the planning maps. So I'm not going to dwell on this slide because I have talked to it in the previous presentation, but just so you're aware, there's some significant increases in the land areas that have been earmarked for these zones. And if I take you through now, I'll start with the general residential zone. And so I've talked in the subdivision presentation about the minimum lot sizes here, which is 600 or 400 if you're reticulated outside of Mangawhai. If you're not a service lot, you're going to need 2,000 square metres to service that lot. So that has been proposed. Now, remember that the residential zone is about providing, quality urban environments with buildings that provide high amenity values through the design, bulk and scale. So the idea is that we're building, great towns where people want to live. And so the other exciting thing about this zone as well is that we're providing for minor residential units. So for anyone looking to build a house in the near future or do alterations and additions, you might want to check out some of the key standards that we're proposing in the proposed plan. So we've got building coverage, building height in relation to boundary, building setbacks. These are all standard requirements in district plans to ensure that we're protecting, the person's amenity and neighbours' amenity, make sure we're not shading other buildings, etc. So there's a whole list of things there. I won't go through one by one, but do check those out. There are also some definitions for anyone that's looking to build. The definitions do help to understand what we mean as well. So check them out in the district plan. Now, in the rural zone, the idea is that it's primarily for agricultural, pastoral, and horticultural activities, and these are provided as permitted activities. There is provision for intensive primary production activities as a restricted discretionary activity. And then there is certainly enabling provisions for residential dwellings to be created, especially if you've got over 24 hectares where you can put 2 houses, and if you've got over 36 hectares you can do 3 dwellings. So check those rules out if you're interested in, you might be wanting to put on some workers' accommodation or an extra dwelling for family, etc. So you'll be able to utilise those rules in the future. There is a new rural industry permitted activity rule that accommodates a wide range of rural-related commercial and industrial activities. So if you're wanting to set up an activity, this might be something to check out. And in addition, to the residential units, we've got the minor residential unit rule as well. So that will support buildings up to 90 square metres to be used in conjunction with the permitted dwellings. So generally the focus of the chapter for the general rural zone is that activities are better located in urban environment, so they'll be discretionary activities or non-complying. Whereas if it's meant to be in the rural zone, then you'll see provisions for that. And as I said before, we've got bulk and location standards, which are primarily focused about protecting the amenity between sites, so your neighbour's property as well as your property. And it's a common thing that all district plans across the country look to do. Now the exciting new rural lifestyle zone. So what's going to be included in there? So you will be able to do one residential unit and one minor residential unit per site. And remember, these are on 4,000 square metre lots. There are lots of complementary permitted activities, which are about making sure that we control the reverse sensitivity effects on your neighbours. These activities, the activities that are better located in urban environments are still going to be discretionary or non-complying activities similar to that rural zone. And so similar to those other zones as well, we just have focused the bulk and location standards around making sure that we're managing those amenity values and reverse sensitivity effects. Just a final note there about building coverage and impermeable surface controls, which is about managing stormwater runoff effects, etc. And that's a key point of difference between the rural zone and the rural lifestyle zone. Now the commercial zone is proposed to be one single commercial zone, but we do have the ability in this zone to do residential accommodation as well, so have a bit of mixed use with residential upstairs, retail downstairs. It provides for trade and yard-based suppliers and service activities to work in these zones. Industrial activities are proposed to be non-complying, and there's a 12-metre height restriction in the zone, and landscaping requirements and outdoor storage requirements. So as I mentioned in the subdivision presentation, minimum lot size here is 250 square metres, which seems very small, but generally you don't need a lot of space in a commercial zone, and there's no minimum lot size for multi-unit development. Now the light and heavy industrial zones, some of this will be new from the operative district plan, and certainly seeking feedback on it. But the key differences for these zones is that the light industrial is obviously to provide for a wide range of industrial activities. The difference with the heavy industry is that those are the more bigger, noisier, 24-hour operations. So the scale of them is much more impacting. And you will be familiar with the Fonterra Dairy Factory at Mangatoroto and the Silver Fern Farms development at Dargaville here. So those are the current heavy industries we have in the Kaipara District. We are proposing some more land for new activities to establish. And the key differences between the zones will be things like the height and the ability for those buildings to be able to permissively operate, but bearing in mind if they're adjacent to an adjoining sensitive zone like a residential zone, there are some restrictions on that as well. So generally most things are quite permissive in these zones, and that's to enable economic development to set up in those areas. There are a couple of non-complying activities because obviously we're not encouraging residential activities and visitor accommodation in these zones. Now the exciting 3 new zones, so these are brand new to the proposed district plan, and we'd love to get your feedback on these. There are 3 new zones as the natural open space, which is for the natural environment. So you'll see a lot of these areas are our existing reserves, forests. There's a bit of dockland, but basically it's areas of natural value. Now, the open space zone is predominantly for passive and active recreational activities. So you might see some of our KDC parks zoned as open space, and some of our reserve areas that we have. And generally these are associated with like limited facilities and structures, which is a little bit different from the sport and active recreation zone. So that is primarily for our sports fields and any indoor and outdoor activities. And so generally the effects of this zone are much more intensified, I guess, with buildings and structures being more the focus of that zone. So hopefully that makes sense. And that's those are 3 brand new zones that we don't currently have. So please get your submissions in to support those if you agree with them, or have a look if you're an activity that operates within those, you know, a club or group that might utilise those spaces. We definitely want to hear from you. The multi-purpose zone is a zone that we do currently have in the operative district plan. We're simply rolling that over, but the emphasis on this zone is to make things as permissive and enabling for landowners in those areas as we can. So generally the activities are about supporting marae, papakainga housing, kohanga reo, primary production, and small-scale commercial and industrial activities. Just a note that treaty settlement land is often in general title, so this has been included in other zones such as the rural zone, and you'll see that in the treaty settlement overlay, which is a layer that you can click on the proposed district planning maps. This chapter has been really condensed and streamlined to make it more usable, more user-friendly, and obviously provides fairly enabling provisions for that papakainga development. And then finally, the special purpose zones. So the Dargaville Hospital gets its own special purpose zone in the PDP, which is a new thing. We have rolled over the Estuary Estates and Trifecta Development Area, Dargaville Racecourse, private plan change, and the Mangawhai Hills development area as well. Now, these are what we call special purpose zones. They're marked in grey on the planning maps. Just a note that the Moonlight Heights and the Rise, which is Cove Road, have been set aside in those in the chapters in the PDP, which is the residential zone. Those are separate because they are precincts and not special purpose zones. So just a point of difference between those. But if you're looking for any provisions, you'll find those in the special purpose zone chapters. And that is the conclusion to our presentation today on the zones. Hopefully that's been helpful and informative. As I've mentioned before, close of submissions is the 30th of June. If you do want to chat to a planner, we've got bookable chat to a planner sessions you can book on our website or call the 0800 number. We also have a friend of the submitter service, which is a free service that can help guide you through your submission if you need any help.